Hi, I'm Rick Crosslin. I'm a teacher in Indiana, and I love science. And I like the kind of science that you get to use your hands and try to solve problems with. So you are at the right place. Thank you for joining us. I know you have choices. There's a lot of cool things that you can find on the internet, but you selected us, the AMA, the Academy of Model Aeronautics, and the Arconic Foundation has sponsored this presentation. The Arconic Foundation is soon transitioning to the Howmet Foundation, and we are happy to be able to provide this short presentation that will get you and your students excited about model aircraft and flying. So, I have the best job in the world. I'm a teacher for 11 schools in MSD Wayne Township, kindergarten through sixth grade. And I've been doing this for a long time. When I go to a school, literally, I get in trouble because kids run up to me. What are we going to do today? What are we going to do today? And the best things they love to do is a project where they get to build it, test it, try it out, and learn something in science and math and technology and have fun. And they don't even know they're doing it. And that's what this presentation will do for you and your students. So usually this is a 3-hour presentation that we do at a school or some location where we can build and fly and test and go in the hallway and go outside. But these are different times. And when there's different times, you should react accordingly and do things differently. So in this 45-minute presentation, I'm going to touch on some of the key elements and the important things to get you and your students, as we say, into the air with models and model aviation. So first of all, who is the AMA? Now, the Academy of Model Aeronautics, or the AMA, has been around for a long time. It's the one organization, the nonprofit, that brings all types of flying and the love of the hobby into one place. Its national headquarters is located in Muncie, Indiana, which is lucky for me. And I came across the AMA many, many years ago at a science conference when I looked up and I saw, wow, look at those planes flying around that table. And that's where I joined and became involved with the AMA. And so I hope today this may be your first opportunity to join up with the AMA, but I think that you're going to enjoy it. So let's take a look at a very short video. I'll be showing you some videos. At the end of this presentation, there is a short survey for you to take, and make sure you do the survey because that's how you're going to get the free stuff. So let's take a look at a little promo, one of many, of who the AMA is and what is their mission.
Every journey starts somewhere. Our journey begins with imagination. And imagination can take us anywhere. New possibilities, new ideas, and new frontiers. Because the best journeys end with new beginnings.
So there you go. The AMA, Academy of Model Aeronautics. They are a dedicated organization to teachers and to educators like you to get your kids excited about some STEM science. So you are here watching this video, and you're going to get some free stuff. Now, I've been teaching a long time, and I learned, and I share this all my colleagues, 2 things a teacher needs to know to say. Be bold. When you come across an organization or a resource, the first thing you should say is, do you have anything free? And the second thing is, I need 30 of them. Well, today, yes, these things are free, and you're going to get classroom sets of a lot of these materials. So I'm glad you joined us today. So what materials are we talking about? Well, we're going to send you at the end of this presentation, when you complete the survey, a lot of cool models and resources. Take a look at this. You can see that you're going to get some FPG-9s, a classroom set that kind of looks like this. And you're also going to get some model airplanes that are called jet streams that you see in the middle there, and some winders. These are excellent 20-to-1 winders. A bag of special rubber bands, we call them motors, and the Alpha performance model, along with a tether and a bag and some of this printed material. All of this will be sent to you free of charge, and it's got quite a good value on it just by attending this session. So that is the kit. And now let's talk about, you probably will also, if you have any questions, you can contact the AMA at education@modelaircraft.org. But if you've signed up for this, you probably know that anyway. So let's get started on the science behind model airplanes. Models have been around for a long time. And before we talk about the models, let's talk about the air around us. It's called an airplane because they fly in the air. Now, I spent a lot of years teaching teachers and students about air and about, first of all, matter. Air is made up of matter. And I like to share an analogy that two rules for matter. And if you look around your setting right now, your computer, your desk, the room you're in, everything you see in that room, including seeing through the air, is made of matter. In fact, I might challenge you, can you see anything that's not made of matter? Well, here's the test I like to share with matter. 2 questions. 1, all matter takes up space. And I call that the Vanna White of matter, takes up space. And number 2, all matter has mass. And that's my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression, yeah, has mass. So if you think of that, all matter takes up space and has mass, even the air around us. In fact, the air from the surface up into outer space, or the start about 50 miles, there's like 14.6 pounds of air matter pushing down on us, air pressure. And it's that envelope atmosphere that airplanes fly in. And it's very interesting. Like, for example, there was going to be a launch that was going to go to Mars. They were trying to find a way to get the craft to come down. The atmosphere on Mars is much, much thinner, less pressure, and the wings would have to be so much bigger. So air, let me show you what I mean by air. Here's a simple experiment that I like to share, and you can do. You have a piece of paper. Paper, it's made of matter. It takes up space and has mass, okay? Now, if I take this piece of paper and I cut it into 2 pieces, 2 equal pieces, I end up with a physical change because I haven't done anything but just change the shape. It's still paper, it's still matter, same size, same shape. We call that congruent in math because model aviation is about science, math, engineering, technology, problem solving, and fun. So you take this, there's still paper, haven't done much to it. One of these you change and you wad it up, and the other one you fold it into like a lid. Now, no chemical change, it's both paper. And I wonder if they're the same mass. I'm doing this on the same day. I'm doing it in the same way. Those are all control variables. My independent variable, the one thing that I want to change on this mini investigation is the shape. The shape. I'm going to do it through the atmosphere on Earth and not one on Mars. And if I drop these, what's going to happen if I drop them at the same time from the same height? I want to eliminate human error. I want to eliminate bias. I don't want to throw one. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, we should predict which one is going to hit first. 3, 2, 1. You should probably do this also. It's more fun if you do it. But well, you just watch me. Here you go. 3, 2, 1. And this one landed first. If we do it again, in fact, we should do it many, many times. And this one landed first again. So our N, or number for our science investigation, we can collect data. And now let's look about why did that happen? Same material, same mass. But as you notice, the variable that we changed was the shape. As it goes through the air, this has more surface area and hence more drag. And for a model airplane, drag is kind of the enemy because we want things to go quite well. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So that is a simple thing to get you started on working with your students. Now, there's a lot of historical aviators and scientists that you can study. And one I like the best is Bernoulli. Now, Bernoulli was a physicist and a mathematician, but he came up with many things. And the one I like is, I call this my Bernoulli clown car. And this is the Bernoulli principle. Now, check out this video about Daniel Bernoulli and how it affects model aviation. Daniel Bernoulli. Daniel Bernoulli is a scientist who was born in the 1700s and died in 1782. And he has done a lot for math and physics when it comes to airplanes. Now, there's a lot of argument. How do planes fly? Is it Isaac Newton and his laws of motion for action, reaction, and angle of attack? Or is it Daniel Bernoulli and his Bernoulli principle? You see, he studied lots of things. He came from a family of geniuses. There were a lot of Bernoullis, and they were excellent musicians and did all kinds of amazing things. But Daniel Bernoulli worked on how fluids move. And when we mean fluids, we mean air. And he came up with an observation, and it's known as the Bernoulli principle, which basically says as the speed of a moving fluid is constricted, two things happen. Number one, the velocity V goes up, and number two, the pressure goes down. So basically, the Bernoulli principle is like this. If I have this piece of paper, if I can increase the air going across the top, I will increase velocity, decrease pressure, and the air should lift it up. Let's see, ready? See how it went up? And if you apply that to an airfoil or a horizontal side of a wing, let's see if it does the same thing. As air goes across the top, it's constricted, increased velocity, and decreased pressure. So that's a pretty cool thing to do, and it's easy to make and to show your students. But there's other things, Bernoulli, we can show you. For example, here's two jars I have, plastic jars. You can do it about any jars, and I've cut some straw pieces about this big. And if I can reduce friction, which is everything we want to do in airplanes and moving objects, it's the enemy of motion, friction. And so now I have these two jars right here. And if I can blow quickly through these, you'd expect them to go apart. But no, if I blow quickly enough, I'm going to increase the fluid, the air, and decrease the pressure, and they should come together. Let's see, ready? Well, how'd you see that? Boom, they came together. That is Bernoulli in action. You know, for example, if I have a funnel here, and if I blow, you would think that the air might shoot this ping pong ball out. But if I blow hard enough, we should have decreased air pressure and it should stay in. Let's see. Ready? Until I run out of breath and gravity takes over. Ready? That's Bernoulli's principle. But something that is really pretty amazing, I found this, a friend of mine online. This is the famous Bernoulli car made in the 50s. It's a wind-up toy, no energy, almost like a rubber band. I'm giving it some potential energy, winding it up, just like a rubber band is potential energy. And if I let go, that potential is transferred to kinetic, and it moves across the table. But what makes this thing so cool is this little air pump here. And maybe with Bernoulli, I can get this thing to go. Let's see. Here we go. See what happens. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Wow. Look at that. The clown car, the Bernoulli clown car. And as the air goes down, it goes down. I take a straw and bend it and do the same thing. Maybe. If you blow too hard, it goes up too fast. And with a little bit of practice, you can get that to work. Or if you have a hair dryer and a ping pong ball, which I have right here, let's see what happens. Let's turn this on. Now you expect it to go up, right? But you don't expect it to do this. When I start to tilt it, that's Bernoulli. It wants to fall down, but it stays up until I turn the air off, and then gravity takes over. So the Bernoulli principle is kind of a cool thing to do. I have this here, I call this the Bernoulli bag, and it's a large bag, and if I try to blow it up with one breath, I can get about that much air. But if I can do this in such a way that I can move my mouth back and blow, let's see, ready? Now I use Bernoulli, I increased the velocity, decreased the pressure, and it filled in. That's a Bernoulli bag. You can buy these or you can make your own. So if you really want to see Daniel Bernoulli principle, the Bernoulli principle in action, all you need is a leaf blower and a beach ball and maybe some toilet paper. Here we go. Let me turn this on. Whoa, that is so cool. It sideways. Daniel Bernoulli, the Bernoulli principle. And let me try some, add some toilet paper for this. Some toilet paper, see what happens. The Bernoulli principle. The Bernoulli principle. You saw in just that short video demonstration, there was a whole bunch of concepts that are directly connected to model airplanes and making a model. And so let's take a look now at some of these. What I like to show is the first model airplane we're going to do. And this is when you build a model airplane, first of all, you build it and it takes some skill. You get to apply math concepts, measuring and balance and science concepts and engineering and problem solving. And if you do some history of some of the famous aviators, there is all types of history to learn about this. But mostly it's fun, whether it's going to be used in a science demonstration or an engineering demonstration. Kids love to try this. And so this is the FPG-9. Before we get into this, let's talk about some of the forces that are affected on any airplane that flies. So you can take a look at this drawing here of a plane, and I have my model here. You see that the first force is that gravity. Gravity's everywhere. And if you're a teacher, you know some days it seems like gravity is heavier on us. The force is strong with this one. But gravity is down. The opposite opposing force that a plane or glider or model needs to overcome is lift. So those are opposite opposing forces, gravity and lift. And we do that with the wings and the configuration. Next, we have thrust. Whether your plane is being rubber band powered, thrown by your hand, electric motor, a jet engine, that's thrust. And the opposing force to that is drag, the shape of that. So these two forces, these opposing forces, students and all of us need to be aware of that we have to overcome so our planes and our models are doing what we want to do. And that's when I use the model, the FPG-9. Now, if you stop and think about a model, scientists, that's one of the big concepts in science. We use models all the time. Weather meteorologists use models that get better and better. Space, we use models to determine what might happen. And in aviation, we make and test models all the time. In fact, this is the FPG-9. And that's kind of fancy. We like these acronyms. FPG-9, foam plate glider, 9-inch. It starts with the foam plate. Now, I'm going to switch cameras so you can see this. This is I have made literally thousands of these, and the reason that I love this particular model is three reasons. Number one, and you can actually make it out of just things around the house. This is a foam plate, it's 9 inches. I used to do this a lot years ago with egg cartons. You know how hard it is to get kids to bring in 30 egg cartons? But there was a AMA member, a grandfather named Jack Reynolds, who took the egg carton concept and turned it into the foam plate. Now, I've traced this one on here, but you're going to receive a package of maybe, I think, about 35 of these that are already pre-cut with lesson plans and everything ready to go. And of course, if you use those up the next year, we might have more for you, or you can always make your own. Now, this is number one, it's easy to have the materials. Number two, it's easy to make. I usually draw a line right there. And the hardest part for me, is to get kids to know two words. One of them is a slit and a slot. So let me cut this off, and I'll make this right here as we talk. So this is the tail. Put that off to the side. And the tail has two slits. Here's my slit. I like to put the letter R on there for the rudder. We'll talk about that in just a moment also. So there's my R. And then here, those are slits. Here is a slot. We talked earlier about all matter takes up space and has mass. So in order for this to fit better, I want to make sure that that space is not taken up. So here's my two slits, and we'll talk about these really cool things right here. Very important things. I'm going to put an E for elevon, and I want to make this slot just a little bit bigger if I can. There we go. So we're almost on our way to making these two parts right here. And the third reason why I like this, number one, you can make it with easily accessible materials. Number two, it's easy to make. And number three, well, it's a great flyer. But we better add a pilot. And I like Abraham Lincoln. Why? Let me put his seatbelt on. He's cheap. He'll fly for 1 penny. And number two, let's close the cockpit so he stays in there. So now I have turned this piece of foam plate into a really pretty cool wing. Now, since this is the leading edge and this is the trailing edge, I want to reduce drag. So sometimes I squeeze this to make this almost knife-like as it goes through the air, or you can sand it because we want to reduce drag. But how are we going to control it? Let's add the tail. Now, nature through biomimicry, when we copy nature, has had millions of generations of fish and sharks that travel through water. And so I remind kids the shape of this fin, dun, 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 just like a shark. And but the thing is, they can put them together any way. And I've seen literally from 3-year-olds all the way up put these together in all different ways. This goes here. And remember our Abraham Lincoln? Not only does he fly cheap, he's got a hard head in case it crashes. Mostly nickel and zinc. Here we go. So let me put this guy here. This part's pretty easy. You need 4 pieces of tape. The first 3 are pretty easy. One, flip it over because we want to hold that tail in place. And then number 3 is pretty easy. Okay, right here. This one, though, you want to make sure this last one you put in holds it perpendicular. So it's nice. And so this is the one that you got to be careful with, the very last one. And on the website, AMA, there's all kinds of videos and resources. I went through this really quick, but right there, I have now made the FPG9. And I have to show you the cool thing about this is the 3 things I like about it. It's regular materials you can find anywhere. It's easy to make, and it flies really well. Let me show you just a short little video of some of these flying, because then we're going to talk about why this is such a great model to learn aviation. Check out the FPG9's foam plate gliders flying. I always put my name on it right here, FPG9 and Rick, because when you do this with 30 or 40 kids, you want your name on it. So you see right here, getting ready to fly it, and this will fly great indoors. It does a little bit of a stall. And then here's a class of 5th graders I did this with. And I have literally done this with hundreds and hundreds of kids at once. It flies really amazing outdoors. And I actually took this to NASA, and we tested it in a water tunnel, much like a wind tunnel. And now, what makes this so special is because an airplane, and you're going to see this in just a second in a small portion of a video that we will make available to you, has 3 ways that it moves. And it's these little elevons and rudders that allows you to control this. In fact, there's 3 of these. back here, 1, 2, 3, and they can be moved in 3 different positions, flat, up, or down. So 3 times 3 times 3. There's 27 different ways you can test this. But what does this have to do with aviation? I'm going to show you right here. This is my pop-up book from years back of the Wright Flyer, the Wilbur and Orville Wright, the historic flight. What you see in this model came from their work, not trial and error, but science. So let me show you just a small segment of something called total control, how to control the Wright Flyer or the FPG-9. Check it out.
Before they designed their first airplane, before they thought about building their first glider, the Wright brothers built a kite. Why? Well, they had developed a theory about control, and they wanted to test it. The kite was something they could build quickly and cheaply, and it was a safe way to experiment. Because when you're testing an aeronautical theory, sometimes it's best to keep both feet on the ground. Many of the early aviators experimented using simple trial and error, but the Wright brothers, well, they did things a little differently.
The Wright brothers didn't guess. They were very much interested in knowing what was going to happen in their airplanes before they climbed into them. They took a unique approach to problem solving. The Wright brothers had reasoned that just in the same way that you internalize riding a bicycle, pilots will internalize flying the airplane. And the only way to do this is like a bicycle, to have a machine that has to be controlled every second it's in motion. And it was that kind of thinking, again, that set them apart.
Total control. The ability to guide the plane through every axis of motion. Now, there's a good question. What are the different ways that a plane can turn or rotate in the air? Well, an aircraft rotates on 3 axes. Here's what we mean. A plane's nose can move up or down. Now, this movement is called pitch. Looking down on a plane, you see the nose can move side to side. Now, this movement is called yaw. Now, with the plane coming toward you, it's easy to see the third type of movement. This is called roll.
Okay, so those 3 simple issues, pitch, roll, and yaw, had been solved by the Wright brothers. And if you notice, some of those words that we described follow how boats and ships move. Boats will pitch up and down and roll and yaw. And that's because aviation replaced, in many regards, transportation by ships. It was the new thing. And also a lot of these words, fuselage, aileron, are also French words, because the French were very instrumental in aviation research. So this is your FPG-9, and there you're going to learn there's all kind of resources how to build it and more information, including on the AMA website. This wonderful project, a unit of study that I had the honor to work with NASA, the AMA, and the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. And what we did is we put in here all types of background information and directions, from paper rockets to kites to parachutes to the FPG-9 and this next model that I'm going to show you, which is pretty amazing. In fact, this model is, you're going to get several of these in your kit, and it's called the Jetstream. Now, it looks probably familiar to you because I bet as a kid you may have seen these or built them. It's made out of balsa wood, and you put it together, and it's powered by a rubber band. Now, it usually comes with a blue rubber band, and the kids like this because it fits nicely. But this rubber band is not near as good as the ones we're going to send you that are a different fraction of the width of it. And this rubber band is pretty amazing. For example, one experiment or investigation you can do is wind it up and see how fast and how long this one will last. Or you could do this one. Here, 10 seconds. Here, maybe 50, maybe a little minutes worth of winding on it. But let's talk about that energy first. So you know or are aware that you cannot create nor destroy energy. You can only transfer it. The law of conservation of energy. And I'm being able to talk today because the sun shone down on the planet Earth. There were plants that were grown, animals that ate them, and that energy was transferred to the plants and animals. It was turned into food that was stored energy. I ate that today, and because of that chemical energy inside of me, I can do three things right now. I'm warm. I'm giving sound energy, thermal energy, and mechanical energy. And I'm going to transfer that to this rubber band to give it what's called elastic potential energy. Now, many of you are familiar with these terms and do a lot of this in your classroom, but make the connection. So we always lose a little bit of our heat energy into the atmosphere. The same thing with this rubber band. If you wind this up 1,000 times, it's going to get hot and it could break. But if you add a lubricant to it, that's another way to make it reduce friction. Remember we talked about friction, the enemy of motion. So let me just show you one way we can do this. Wind this up. Let me switch cameras right here, and you're going to get enough of these for the kids to work in teams on this. And what I hope you'll see here is here we go. Down at the end of my table, I put a little what's called a winding stooge. When I do this with students or teachers, we help each other. But since I'm here today, we'll just do this with a winding stooge, and you'll get several of these 20-to-1 winders. And there's where some math comes in. So I'm going to set this balsa model right here that flies really well upside down in my winding stooge. I'm going to take my lubricated motor, which you'll think it's a rubber band, but every hobby and every discipline has its own language. So we have a motor stick, we have a propeller, we have a 20-to-1 winder. And what I can do on here is start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There, I just put 200 winds on this. Now, if you're like me in the old days, we used to sit and wind it with our finger. I didn't even know there was winders like this. And you're going to get several of these in your kit. So now I've given this elastic potential energy. And let's see what happens. Ready? When I let go, potential energy turns into kinetic energy and maybe a little bit of sound energy. So this is a pretty amazing little model that you're going to get, that you're going to take your kids out. They fly indoors, they fly outdoors. And it's the jet stream. But the AMA divides things that fly into three categories. One of my favorites is the free flight. When you throw a model, launch a model into the air, and it's on free flight going the way you designed it, you hope. That's one. The second one is remote control, and that is got taken up all over the place. But the third one, and I've kind of converted this, is my FPG-9 on a fishing line, and I have made what's called a tethered flight. And we're going to send you a kit to turn the jet stream into an amazing tethered project. So you will get a little block here with a special nail and some paper clip and some string. You have to supply your own trash can. And if you hook that after you build this up, think about all you can do with a model airplane on a string with a certain radius, and determine the circumference and find the speed. And well, let me just show you. Here it is in action at a school in a gymnasium where two teams of kids have started their jet stream and they both launched at the same time. And that one's climbing and the one's following, and that's going to be fun. That's just two. It looks like a lot of fun, and you can time it. And on our website, there's some experts who will take you through the steps of all types of ways to use this. And really, there's a lot of STEM. And the way I determine STEM is, science, technology, math, engineering, and real world applications. So let me show you what I mean by that. So once you have practiced this and the students have built these, pretty easy. There's so many things you can do with it. It's called an ROG. rise off the ground. What happens when you move the wing back and forward? You change the center of gravity. What happens if you break the wings and tip them up? I mean, there's all sorts of things. On the tethered project, after your students have done many trials and calculated the circumference and the radius and the speed, how about let's change the variable? What would happen if we added maybe 6 inches of yarn to each wing? Would that make a difference? Would it increase the drag, decrease the drag? What happens if we added some pennies, like from the FPG-9? What would the increased mass do? So you see, there are all kinds of possibilities for some pretty fun investigations following science methods. So I like these models because of science methods, and I also like them because of design processes. And so what I usually do with the FPG-9 is after students make it and fly it and test it using a science method to get it fly straight and then to control it, I ask them, okay, using these materials, here's the parameters. You get so much tape, you get foam plate, you get some pennies. Design your own glider. And that's all about designing it, researching it, building it, testing it, fixing it, testing it, fixing it, and then communicating your results. Pretty amazing stuff. So that's the FPG-9 and the Jetstream, which can be both free flight and tethered. And it brings us to the last model I'm going to share with you today, which you guys are lucky. This is a high performance model called the Alpha, the AMA Alpha. It was designed for flight school, which is our name of one of our resources, for high performance. So you put this in the hand of a teacher or a kid and it flies. I mean, it flies so good that you might lose it. Can you imagine that, making something that flies so good on the first time it's gone? That's kind of bittersweet. So I always keep an extra when one of the girls that makes these planes fly and they just take off. I go, I'm sorry, you're such a good aviator, such a good engineer. Here's another one. I'm sorry you lost that one. But look at some of the changes of this. Large motor stick, longer elastic motor, bigger propeller, and these, what the effect of breaking the angle, making a dihedral has to do with model airplanes. And it even has some control surfaces on the back here. And let's take a look at this one flying. This is my friend Kyle, who's the director of education, made this short video showing you the kinetic energy from the rubber band. And when he flies it, I think he was a little worried about losing it because he just wound it up just a little bit and it takes off. And it usually flies in a circle to the right because of the torque of the propeller, the angular momentum. So much science to learn in this. And don't worry if you're not an expert. The man who designed this and all the people at the AMA have incredible amount of resources for you to share this. Now, the thing that really kind of upsets me is you're going to get something I haven't even received yet. This is the Alpha. Beta comes next. The Beta is on its way. And I think you're going to get these after the first year. I think we might have a picture of the Beta. It's the next improved version of the Alpha, and it will fly really well. In fact, my friend told me the first time he flew it, it took off. So you'll get the Alpha, and the Beta will be maybe at a different time. All right, we've gone through a lot in just a short amount of time. And if you have questions, you can put them in our chat feature, or you can always contact us at education@modelaircraft.org. That's a great place to find us. And let's take a look at some of our resources we have online. So the first place to start is our Arconic Steam Flight School. And on this website, as you see on your screen coming up here, this, how do I get started? Well, if you look at this, and there's a picture of me down there. There's the Alpha program. I would click on that, and as soon as you click on that, there's all kinds of activities and videos. And the second video you see there, I really, really liked it. This is a PBS NASA-sponsored video we made, a program about an hour long, about Wings Over Indiana. It could be Wings Over America, and it features the FPG-9 all over the place. In fact, I flew it inside of a 747 that used to bring the shuttle back and forth. We put it in a wind tunnel. I have flown this FPG-9 basically across the country. And the first flight of my FPG-9 went almost as far as the Wright brothers' first flight. That's pretty amazing. So there's all kind of downloaded materials that you can see there. Let's take a look at the next place, which is our junior camps. The AMA started at hosting junior camps. And the junior camp last year, because of our current situation, everything is online, perfect for you to do. And what's really special about these projects is they captured short videos of some of model aviation superstars. And so you can click on those and your students can really, because there's going to be somebody in your classroom, that more than one, that's going to fall in love with this hobby and this discipline and maybe be one of these people someday soon. A great resource for you to look at, the third one I want to direct you to, is called Quick Projects. Now, in this day and age, if everybody wants it quick and they want it now, they've responded with these quick projects. Now, the quick projects, what I really like about them is they cover a whole range of different things. Some of these are quite old, 40, 50 years old. There's some of the favorites from maybe the golden age of models, which was in the 1930s and 40s. I like to think the golden age of models is now. Who doesn't want to make a glider? But the important thing I'd like to share with you is these can be sent home or just directed at home, where students can make these at home in this virtual setting that we're in now. These are mostly with things that you have at home and easy to make. And you can, right now, when you finish watching this video, check these out and assign them to your students as you speak. So let's say you want to do something special for your class or your school. The AMA has thousands of clubs across the country, and they have a thing called the club locator or the club finder. So all you got to do is put your town, your address, your zip code, and they will direct you to the nearest club to you, the president within so many miles, and how you can get in touch, email with them. Because I know the first time that I really got involved in the AMA, I found some guys that had a club, the Free Flight Fellows. These are people who made these models, and they were looking for a gym to fly them in. So I invited them to our school, and when that first model they took out, and it was maybe only 1 micron thick, the wings, and he walked very carefully, wound it up. When that model took off and flew for over 25 minutes, I sat there. It was like I was inside of that model, flying with it for 20 minutes plus on 1 rubber band wind. So that was like a win-win. They had a place. We were exposed to a really cool science and STEM and engineering discipline, model aviation. So check out the Club Finder. And if you really want to take the next step, which is an easy step, you can start a aviation club. We call that the Model Aviation Student Club for teachers, and it's free. And we will give you all kind of information and include you in, if you insurance for your flying site at your school. We are really concerned that people learn, have fun, and are safe. And we'll provide you with rules of how to fly and what are the do's and don'ts, or at least a resource of who to ask for. Hey, what if we do this? What if we do that? So you can join that easily. It won't cost you anything. But if you do want to join the AMA, and I recommend you give it a try, you can even have more resources. And I get this magazine every month, and I just, if I'm like you, if you're like me, you don't have a lot of time as a teacher, but this covers everything from build your own to fly right out of the box. But I would like to share with you something, let me tell you about, this is it's a quote that my latest one I just read, and it says, "The desire to fly is an idea handed down to us by our ancestors who looked enviously on the birds soaring freely through space on the infinite highway of air." Now that was Wilbur Wright. And I, like many before me, Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, Daniel Bernoulli, have watched birds fly and wished maybe for one day I had that ability. Well, with models, you can. I used to teach overseas. I taught in Egypt for 2 years, and I took my kids to the pyramids of Giza. We stopped at the display, and there at the foot of the pyramids in the museum, in a case off to the corner, was a model airplane in the shape of a bird that some child, maybe 3,000 years ago, threw and flew into the air. Just like the kids in your classroom. So I hope you have fun flying and enjoyed this video here. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at education@modelaircraft.org. And please check on the survey. And if you liked this, fill out the survey. And I also would love you to, if you like this, you can visit my website and my YouTube channel, Rick Crosslin Science. I love science K through 6. I have over 300 plus videos of all types of lessons, but I really like the aviation lessons. And thank you. I know you have choices. Thank you for joining us. Click on the survey so we can send you your free stuff and a bunch of it too. Take care.